Hello everyone and welcome to UZ Report World News Broadcasting with the latest news from Uzbekistan and around the world. The Samarkand region of Uzbekistan is expected to see $2.9 billion worth of investment by 2023. President Shavkat Mirziyoyev, during his trip to the region on April 15-17, was presented over 1,100 investment projects to be implemented in the industry, services and agriculture sector.
The volume of FDI is set to comprise $1.8 billion. Over 26,000 permanent jobs are to be created if all goes to plan. Now times have changed. People no longer need to live like yesterday. The most important issue is that the heads of local executive authorities must work in accordance with today's energetic, intensive time, said Mirziyoyev. 2020 was not an easy year. Even the economies of the leading powers faced great challenges. This year, if we redouble our efforts and act with an eye to tomorrow, we will be able to implement our plans. But if we remain inactive, expecting someone to do it for us, we will never achieve a single result, he added. Around 8 projects amounting to $974 million are scheduled in the energy sector. New capacities are to generate 6 billion kilowatt-hours annually, which would save 1.8 billion cubic meters of gas. Mirziyoyev also gave instructions to lay out intensive orchards and vineyards with a total area of 8,000 hectares in the Kushrabad, Ishtikhan and Urgut districts, thereby providing employment for more than 4,000 people.
The Uzbek government has announced the strengthening of control over compliance with the quarantine requirements. The decision was expected to take effect on April 18. Prime Minister Abdulla Aripov at a meeting on Saturday said the government would impose new measures if the situation continues to worsen. All schools and kindergartens would switch to online education if a single case of infection would be registered at the institutions. Aripov said that the African strain of the virus has already entered the Uzbek border. Currently, it is being studied by the Center for Advanced Technologies together with the Sanitary and Epidemiological Service. As many as 316 coronavirus cases were recorded in Uzbekistan on April 16, the highest number since the beginning of the year, according to the country's health ministry. The total case tally as of April 17 stood at 86,338. The recovery rate was 97%. The number of daily cases has been growing in Uzbekistan for several days. The number exceeded 200 on April 9 for the first time in 2021, and cases spiked to new highs on April 14, 15 and 17. A mass vaccination campaign kicked off in Uzbekistan on April 1st. The country has received 660,000 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine and 1 million doses of a vaccine developed by China's Anhui Zhifei Longcom Biopharmaceutical. The Uzbek health watchdog said earlier that Russia's Sputnik V coronavirus vaccine was expected to be delivered to the country in late April or early May. According to the latest data, 300,000 people have been vaccinated in Uzbekistan. Uzbekistan has announced a massive IPO for the country's largest state-owned companies. According to the decree inked by President Shavkat Mirziyoyev, the procedure is to be completed by 2023. The list of companies is as follows. Uzmedkombinat, producer of ferrous, non-ferrous ferroalloys products. Uzbekneftgaz, the state-owned holding company of Uzbekistan's oil and gas industry. National Bank of Uzbekistan, People's Bank, Agrobank, Microcredit Bank, Khishlok Kurilish Bank, Uz Agro Sugurta Insurance Company, Kurilish Mash Leasing, Uzbek Invest Export Import Insurance Company, Uzbekistan Airways, Uztransgaz, Al Malik Mining and Metallurgy Combined, Navoi Mining and Metallurgy Combined, Uzavtosanoat, Uz Auto Motors. Only 2 IPOs have been held in the history of modern Uzbekistan, one with the participation of glass manufacturer Quartz, the second by Jizak Plasmasa, the largest producer of plastic items. Deputy Finance Minister of Uzbekistan Odilbek Isakov and Japanese Ambassador to Uzbekistan Yoshinori Fujiyama inked exchange notes worth $195 million on April 16. Along with economic growth, Uzbekistan is experiencing an increased demand for electricity, which is why such tasks as management in the field of electricity, accurate statistics, financial management based on international accounting standards, and strengthening the operation and maintenance of power plants are important, the Japanese embassy said in a statement. The loan is allocated for 25 years with a grace period of 7 years at the LIBOR rate plus 1.1% per annum. The volume of trade turnover between Azerbaijan and Uzbekistan has increased by 13% to $80 million in 2020 despite COVID-19, Uzbek Ambassador Bahrom Ashrafkhanov said on April 15 as part of an online B2G forum organized by Caspian Energy Club. The ambassador underlined that the trade turnover between the two countries has tripled over the past 3 years. Uzbekistan recognizes Azerbaijan as a prospective trade and economic partners in the CIS region, and we are ready to enhance this cooperation on a large scale, Ashrafkhanov stressed. The trade turnover between the two countries amounted to $82.3 million in 2020. The export of Azerbaijani products to Uzbekistan comprised $23.1 million, while import amounted to $59.1 million. The Uzbek government has put a luxury villa that once belonged to Gulnara Karimova under the hammer. Authorities intend to auction it off to a hotel developer.
The villa, located at a mountain lake resort on a 5.38-hectare plot, houses a tennis court, indoor and outdoor pools, a winery, a disco, a private cinema, an amphitheater, and a Japanese winter garden. The move is a part of a massive privatization campaign, and other assets put up for sale this month include several resorts and the former headquarters of the State Security Service, which replaced the Soviet-era KGB. The government's statement did not say how much the Uzbek authorities expect to gain from the sale of the villa. Tender offers are accepted until April the 30th.
The Uzbek embassy in the USA and Canada saw a meeting between Tigran Mkrtchev, the director of the Karakalpakstan State Museum of Art, named after Igor Vitalyevich Savitsky, and Donna Gustafson, head of the American Art Museum. The parties discussed measures in support of cooperation activities. Besides, curators shared plans to exhibit some of Uzbekistan's expositions in the USA, as well as to carry out the professional exchange programs.
In recent years, the art and culture sector has received increased attention from the Uzbek government, along with the measures to promote the republic's historical and cultural heritage overseas that are carried out jointly with international experts. As a director of the Karakalpakstan State Museum noted, the gallery is ready to fully cooperate with the world's leading institutions in organizing itinerant exhibitions. He suggests that the U.S. delegation would visit Uzbekistan to study the collection of the local museum and draw up a list of exhibits for future exposition in the USA. In return, the U.S. delegation intends to visit Nukus by the end of 2021 and offers to organize joint exchange programs that would attract both Uzbek and American art critics. Besides, Donna Gustafson assured the possibility of preparing a separate book to coincide with the exhibition of art projects of Uzbek Museum in the United States.
Uzbek families in need are soon to receive financial support totaling $1 million. This is included in the program to mitigate the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic on civil society in Uzbekistan. A goal was set to provide 350 families with financial assistance worth over $300 each and to grant aid amounting to 285,000 to 185 startup projects. 12 medical institutions are to receive equipment worth over $143,000.
The project was outlined at a meeting held within the framework of the programs of the European Union Support Center, assistance to civil society institutions in responding to the consequences of the COVID-19 pandemic in Uzbekistan. The project is being launched by the nationwide movement Yükselish, jointly with the Republican Center for Socio-Economic Development Sabr and the Republican Regional Information Center Istiqbali Avlod. For now, the project covers families from Andijan, Samarkand, Tashkent and Kashkadarya regions within 18 months.
We have heard about the poverty rates which are going up. I will not repeat them again, but we also know about, of course, the consequences on food consumption. And these, in fact, have spiked in April, in April. And we also know that there are a number of migrant workers which have returned to Uzbekistan without any alternative source of income, which is also pressing, in fact, the government's ability also to provide enough jobs and social protection.
20 тысячам сельчанам.
As a result of the projects, we are planning to create a module which supports the activities of ministries which are already operating in the support system of needy population during pandemic and in remote areas. And we're hoping that this system helps to make the efforts of the government more effective.
Russia on Friday asked 10 U.S. diplomats to leave the country in retaliation for Washington's expulsion of the same number of Russian diplomats over alleged malign activity. Russia also suggested that U.S. Ambassador John Sullivan should return home for consultations after Moscow recently recalled its ambassador to Washington for consultations. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov on Friday outlined some retaliatory measures to what he called absolutely unfriendly, unconditional actions by Washington.
We also have the opportunity to take painful measures for American business. We will also keep them in reserve.
The U.S. on Thursday imposed a broad array of sanctions on Russia, including curbs to its sovereign debt markets, to punish it for interfering in last year's U.S. election, cyber hacking, bullying Ukraine, and other malign actions. Russia denies election meddling and says it did not orchestrate a cyber hack that used U.S. tech company SolarWinds to penetrate U.S. government networks. President Joe Biden.
I was clear with President Putin that we could have gone further, but I chose not to do so. I chose to be proportionate. The United States is not looking to kick off a cycle of escalation and conflict with Russia. We want a stable, predictable relationship. If Russia continues to interfere with our democracy, I'm prepared to take further actions to respond.
Despite Moscow's retaliation, it left the door open for dialogue and did not kill off the idea of a Putin-Biden summit. Moscow's response was mostly tit for tat.
Today we will publish a list of 8 officials who represent the governing structure of the Washington administration. They will also be included in our sanctions list.
Among those 8 officials banned, FBI Director Christopher Wray, Director of National Intelligence Avril Haines, and U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland.
Wall Street's 3 main indexes ended Friday higher, with the S&P 500 and the Dow breaking closing records and booking their 4th straight week of gains. The Dow jumped more than 160 points, while the S&P and Nasdaq also rose. Government stimulus, strong corporate earnings from U.S. banks and in Europe, along with signs of economic recovery in countries leading the COVID-19 vaccination race, have all helped push stock market indexes to new heights this week. And Greg Hahn, president of Winthrop Capital Management, says reopenings will lead to more gains.
We're going to see the economy get turned on. This second half of the year should be really, really solid for hospitality, conventions, entertainment, and the like. So the leisure hospitality space travels should do really well second half of the year. So there's momentum here.
Strong bank earnings came on Friday from Morgan Stanley, which reported a 150% jump in quarterly profit, joining JP Morgan Chase, Goldman Sachs, and Bank of America in reinforcing hopes of a swift economic recovery. Still, the investment bank shares fell as it also disclosed an almost $1 billion loss from the collapse of family office Archegos Capital Management. Morgan Stanley was one of several banks that had exposure to Archegos, which defaulted on margin calls late last month and triggered a fire sale of stocks across Wall Street.
The last of the major American banks reporting results underscored just what a banner quarter it was for Wall Street. Morgan Stanley said Friday its profit more than doubled to nearly $4 billion, breezing past analysts' expectations. Like its arch-rival, Goldman Sachs, the investment bank benefited from the surge in trading and the global deal-making boom. The retail craze over so-called meme stocks like GameStop fueled its trading volumes, driving revenue at its institutional securities business up 66%. Morgan Stanley also benefited from the surge in initial public offerings featuring private firms merging with listed shell companies. Its investment banking revenue more than doubled. But Morgan Stanley suffered a setback, recording a one-time loss of over $900 million. It was one of 6 banks that had exposure to a family office fund that defaulted on margin calls last month and triggered a fire sale of stocks. Still, Morgan Stanley's results capped a blowout quarter for the biggest U.S. banks that saw Goldman's profit jumping 6-fold and Wells Fargo's catapulting 7-fold. Shares of Morgan Stanley rose in early trading Friday.
These were the top headlines for today. Stay safe and goodbye.